Hello everyone, and welcome to RuPaul's Drag Race Rejudged. The All-Stars 9 finale has just aired, the season is over, and I am at a loss for words. I am incredibly happy for Angeria. I've been rooting for her to win for 2.5 years now, but outside of that, I have no idea what we have just witnessed. This season definitely had some highs, but seeing the fanbase's reaction to pretty much everything all season, I would generally classify this season as a complete train wreck. So today, I will be attempting to determine what went wrong on this season because oh my god, what did we just watch? Every single season of All Stars that goes on makes me less and less convinced that production has literally any idea what they are doing. Before I get into the flaws of the season, I always like to start my videos on a more positive note, so I will give credit for two things this season. Number one, doing a season for charity is a really fun and interesting idea, even if in 12 episodes, one of the queens was only able to take home $6,500. Number two, everyone glowed up on the season, and in general, I would say this cast was very strong. While in the end, they were not able to make up for the format, and I would classify this season as a failure, it is not because of this cast. All of these queens were trying their hardest, and I do not want them to have to face the blame of production's major failures throughout the season. With that out of the way, I think the first way in which this season failed is the complete lack of trust that production seems to have in the queens. What do I mean by this? Way back in February 2019, Manila Luzon is the frontrunner to win All-Stars 4. She has the best track record, she is the fan favorite, she is the production favorite, and there is pretty much a check written with her name on it hidden behind the judging panel. Then at the final 6, Naomi Smalls comes out of literally nowhere and takes Manila out of the competition. While in the end, I am very happy that Monet and Trinity ended up winning, the last few episodes of the season are production very obviously scrambling because they have absolutely no idea what to do. Following all of this, 27 days after Manila's elimination, Season 11 begins to air, and it becomes very apparent that production has completely misjudged the fan reception that Silky Nutmeg Ganache would have. She is completely raked over the coals by the fanbase for no good reason, and while the fanbase did eventually come around, at the time the season was airing, this was a complete failure for production, and now 2 seasons in a row where their plans have been completely derailed. Moving 1 season into the future, on Season 12 we have the situation involving the queen who shall not be named. All of this culminates in a situation where production has now had 3 seasons in a row where their plans have completely fallen apart, and that is something that they are very obviously unhappy about. Starting with Season 13, which is the first season to film after the fallout of Season 12, production seems to have literally no trust in the queens to make good TV. Instead, someone decided that instead of taking a gamble on a cast working out, they should fill the seasons with twist after twist after twist. I believe the idea in this is that if the overarching focus of the season is more on the twists, production is assuming much less risk that a season will be ruined by a frontrunner leaving, or production as a whole misjudging how much of a fan favorite a queen will be. How does this mess up All Stars 9? Production has no faith in this cast. As a result of that, they decide to fill the season with charity star twists, handing out not 2, not 4, not 5, but 11 charity stars throughout the season. For reference, there are 11 challenges on the season, meaning that of the 33 total stars received on the season, 11 of them were charity stars. That number would have been even higher if someone with more stars won the double diamond. Because of this obsession with twists, we see queens like Plastique, who won 4 challenges and definitely deserve to make the finale, get completely sidelined when a queen like Vanjie is able to win 2 and somehow place 3rd. As happy as I am that Vanjie made it to the end, if the season was judged solely based off wins, the final 3 is Roxy, Plastique, and Angeria, which in my opinion is a much fairer outcome, and I think it would have been much better received by the fanbase. The second flaw that ruined this season is the lip syncs. This season was all around not great in terms of lip syncs. They did have some really strong performers like Vanjie, Angeria, Chanel, Jorgeous, and Roxy, but then you have weak lip syncers like Plastique, Gottmik, and Nina who are dominating the challenges and then flopping the lip syncs. I already talked about this a few weeks back, but I think a huge issue with the top 2 format is that it is completely reliant on queens who are both challenge beasts and lip sync assassins to succeed. All of that said though, that's not even the worst problem with these lip syncs. The Lollapalooza was a great format for a challenge, but many of the lip syncs were just kind of worse than the original. I think Raven did a much better job in My Lovin' than Gottmik and Angeria. Coco and Lala are the all-time greats in When I Grow Up. I think there's a solid argument behind Aja being better in Holding Out for a Hero, Asia in Groove Is in the Heart, and then Jaden for Break Free, and so on. I would make the argument that all of these queens were pretty much set up to fail by production here, and we watched it, so I guess that makes us complicit. The third flaw that messed up the season was the comically bad edit. This was a ridiculously awful edit. I would make the argument that Angeria's edit is around the same level as someone like Sophie or Michelle from Survivor. I know the predictions I've made on this channel are generally bad, but every single sign pointed towards Roxy. Then we arrive at the finale, and Angeria, who hadn't won in 4 episodes, comes out of literally nowhere to win. I am overjoyed that she won, but I think production should have done a much better job setting her up for the win. I'm currently recording this at 2 p.m. on Friday, which means the finale has just come out, and my immediate perception, it kind of feels like we just watched the first 10 or 11 episodes of a season edited to justify a Roxy win, only for the tapes to get switched at the last minute, and we see the finale from a season where Angeria wins. I hope what I said just makes sense, but overall, I do feel like the non-racist section of the fanbase would have been less angry if we'd seen this coming, as if I'm being honest, we probably should have, since Angeria has been on track all season to break the record for the best Justed or Busted score ever, and after winning the talent show, I do believe she is now ahead of Bianca Del Rio. Moving on from that, the fourth thing that screwed up this season is the complete lack of momentum. Drag Race is a competition, and as a result of that, it needs stakes to work. And for this season, the stars just didn't align due to the format. I'm not going to get into the details of why season 14 was such a failure, but one of the main reasons is that it almost felt like a precursor to a non-elimination season, as we once went an entire month with only one queen going home. On this season though, I think we saw the overall strongest non-winners cast in years, and it got completely ruined by production and the non-elimination format they went with. On All-Star 7, I think the non-elimination format kind of worked as well as it did because it was overall just a really positive season, and the entire cast was winners, so it made sense to have a format that would protect their legacies. The format does not work, however, with a cast of regular returnees with no drama and overall weaker concepts for challenges. I think the final nail in the coffin for the momentum of this season came in part 1 of the finale. While I understand that some people apparently like it, I just don't see it. I have a lot of respect for anyone who's willing to go on the show, but for me, a large part of why I watch this show is watching talented people show off their drag. Watching the queens do various mini challenges and out of drag interviews just does not make for a good experience. This is made even worse by the fact that there is still a full week between the two parts of the finale. It is my opinion that All Stars 9 being 12 episodes long resulted in a season where for almost the entire run, we are just slowly dragging our way to an obvious and predetermined final 3 of Angeria, Roxy, and Plastique. Even though in the end, that wasn't the final 3 we got, for the first 8 or so episodes, it made the season really boring, that there was pretty much no doubt that the finalists were going to be those 3 queens. Also, I'm just gonna throw it in here, you would think in a 12 episode season, the Ruby Snippers would matter literally once, but you would be wrong. Going back to what I said about the finale though, I think the 5th and final reason this season was such a disaster was the finale. I already shared my criticisms of finale part 1, but part 2, while definitely better, was still not good. In the talent show, we had a lot of original tracks, and while I do think that Plastique and Jorgeous did a great job of adding something unique and putting their own spin on it, the challenge as a whole still kind of flopped. To make things even worse, the only queen to do something truly unique this episode, Chanel, got completely sidelined because production realized that they had completely screwed themselves, and this challenge was the only shot they had left to fix the mistakes they had made earlier in the season. This might just be how recent the episode was, but I don't know what production was thinking. They really screwed over Angeria. Throughout the season, they added just enough charity stars to stop her from making the finale without intervention. They realized their mistake, and then to fix that twist, they gave her a relatively undeserved win to even the score, which gave off the impression that the only reason she made it to the end was favoritism. All of that said, while I personally don't agree with Angeria's win, she 100% deserved to make it to the finale, and while her talent show was an original track, she did not do a bad job at all, and I truly don't understand why I see so many people dunking on this. Did it deserve to win? No. Is it even close to the bottom talent show of the night? No. Not only was the talent show a mess, but the final 3 in lip sync was somehow even worse. I am overjoyed that Angeria won. I've been rooting for her not just since this season started, but since season 14 started. But dear God, production needs to make a decision. They're either picking winners based off the finale, like Shay and Kylie, or they are going based off the queen that did best on the season, like Jinx, Jimbo, and Angeria. The way production picks winners varies greatly from season to season, and I'm perfectly fine with production using their better judgment to pick a winner. The way they're going about it is very inconsistent, and in the end, I think the only thing it ends up doing is creating the perfect argument against various queens' wins. Even though in the end, I am incredibly satisfied with the winner of the season, I think production needs to take a year off All-Stars, figure out what they're going to do going forward, and try again in 2026. Production very obviously has no idea what they are doing, and until they can figure something out, I don't think yearly All-Stars is going to be a feasible idea. Do you want non-Emmy nominated gay shit? Well then you should check out the RuPaul's Drag Race Rejudged YouTube channel and hit subscribe.